Hi, welcome to the Secrets of Tomorrow's Leaders podcast. I'm Noah, and today I have a very special guest, Brittany Barlog, the president of JCI Santa Clarita. Today we're going to discuss something pretty personal. Her word of the year this year for JCI was value, and I wanted to know exactly where that stemmed from. And so welcome, Britt. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Noah.
Of course. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Me too. You know, I could not have picked a better VP of marketing to come on and reignite our Secrets of Tomorrow's Leaders podcast. We're so excited to get this kickstarted, and you're the guy for the job. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I appreciate it. Okay, so I want to get into value and what that means to you. But first, we're doing something right before this, and we looked at a card. It said, "What's your biggest fear?"
Yep.
I think that might be a good place to start.
Okay.
So what is your biggest fear?
Okay. So, you know, in a professional and a personal standpoint, I think when you walk into a space, and for me, what one of my biggest fears is to feel completely misunderstood and to feel like there isn't someone who actually resonates or gets who I am and who I be. I think that a fear is much deeper than just feeling like, oh, like that's just not who she is or that's just not who she be. But it's like a deep, meaningful, hey, I'm not putting on a mask. Right. I'm not putting on a facade. What you see is truly what you get. And to feel like sometimes when I walk into a space, to feel that for the longest period, that would be my biggest fear, is to always have this misunderstood feeling around it. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, how do you think that ties into the foundation of value that you've built for yourself?
Well, first and foremost, let me start off by saying that being the president this year is one of the greatest honors that I could possibly have. I put it together not too long ago that I'm actually the 28th president at 28 years old. Come on.
Congratulations.
Like who would have thought? And so I think going into it of this whole feeling of value and what that means, I mean, we really are in JCI the young leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah.
The secrets of tomorrow's leaders. We are the next step that comes up. And to be able to say to people at the age that I'm at, I'm the president and this is what my vision is. It's truly because I want there to be this understanding feeling cultivated for everyone else in our community to see the magic behind JCI is that we are valued for who we are in this organization, regardless of what our titles are, regardless of our experience, regardless of how old we are. We are really, truly, and honestly the secrets of tomorrow's leaders. We know what that looks like to be able to cultivate that in our organization. And we know how to value the people that we currently have in it to build them into who they're supposed to be.
Can you tell me in what ways are you, or did you come into this year wanting to do that?
Hold on a second. I'm going to pause you for just a second because this is in the way. I put that there.
Oh.
And I moved that a little bit so it doesn't block your chair.
Okay,
Did
perfect.
I kill the intro, by the way?
No, you were fine. But we could do a new intro if you want afterwards. Okay. Do you remember the question that you just asked?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and ask it again.
Yeah, do it one more time.
So I'm curious, in what ways did you plan or intend on bringing value to the members of JCI this year, as well as to yourself?
Okay, so I have this belief system, and I was really thinking about this back in 2024. And in my journey with JCI, I've served on our board of directors for 5 years now. And when I was serving last year, I really was thinking as I was preparing for the role of president, what was that going to look like? What was that going to feel like? And I kept getting stuck on what was that going to feel like? What was that going to feel like? And as I thought about that, I thought to myself, we need to have a space for people to feel like they can just be planted by who they are and really grow and flourish in the sense that they're allowed to be who they are. They're allowed to know what they know. They're allowed to grow into the person that they're supposed to grow into while using and maximizing on the skill set that they already currently have. But sometimes what we feel is, oh, if I'm not this massive, big, expert, there's no way that I could do that. And I'm telling you guys, when I say that planted within the seed of the tree is the tree, right?
I love that.
Planted already in that little seed that goes into the ground is actually the huge tree that you don't already see, but you're going to see. And I thought to myself, I want to find the people who are going to be put into roles that are already assigned by our board of directors. And I want them to feel like they can just grow in that and that they have a place and a person who supports them by doing that. So if I can make them feel valued for who they are, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So I want to be able to really take a moment and just recognize the fact that when it comes to who I have in place for all these different roles, I love my board so much. I love every single person in every single position that they are in. Our board of directors for JCI Santa Clarita 2025 is 19 people strong. Wow. 19 people strong. And it tells me that there are 19 people in our organization who are committed to what that ripple effect looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I love that so much. I'm also curious, that space that you mentioned earlier of nourishing, like that metaphor with the tree and the seed within the tree. How do you create space within yourself to be able to nourish that seed within other people's metaphorical tree?
Totally. I believe, truthfully and honestly, I know you were a big believer in this too, we cannot pour from empty cups. Yeah, we cannot pour from empty cups. And so in any form of leadership, we always know to reach out to our past leaders. And so I have a team of people that I choose to reach out to. So if I'm going through something where, darn, I don't know if my communication is going to cut it, so I need Charlene Johnson's words to cover me. I don't know if my strength is going to cover this situation, so I'm going to lean into Jason Price for that one. I don't know if I'm not seeing where the holes are in this project, so I'm going to reach out to Cindy Curtis, because I know that there are people who are planted for me to be able to have that space to say, hey, Britt, it's okay that you don't have all the answers. And I look to all my leaders and I go, hey, it's okay that you don't have all the answers. I will not let you fail. And that's the same mentality that they've instilled in me. So when it comes to taking care of myself and who I am, I know I have to go to people and say, okay, I can't depend on my own train of thought right now. Can I depend on yours? Or especially in a position, and this goes to anyone who's listening, who's dealing with it in their work situation or a nonprofit circle or a relationship or a caregiving role or whatever it looks like for them. If you come to a place where you are just like stuck and you just cannot see it for what it actually is, it is so valuable to take the bird's eye view from someone else who's not in it and just pull it back and let them sift through and find where those missing pieces are. And I think that comes from a sense of, which I know you have too, that humbleness, the humbleness, and to be able to say, I'm going to push my pride aside.
I was just thinking,
because I don't know the answers. What did your brother just say to you?
He goes, we were talking about something. He goes, it sounds like you're talking about letting go of pride and holding on to dignity. I'm like, yeah, it's literally exactly what I'm talking about.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
It's so simple sometimes when we look at it, but in the moment it can feel like night and day.
Oh yeah, especially when you're
the sky
like
is
going
falling.
through stuff. Right, exactly. Like especially when you feel like it's so heavy, and you're like, oh no, like it's almost like you want to prove something to yourself, but no matter how hard you try, like there's people who have already done it, so why not just extend your hand? And because I'm like speaking for myself, everybody that I know in JCI is willing to extend their hand. And that's one of the most fulfilling and meaningful parts of being a member, is that I get to, and I feel that that's been driven through your leadership. So I really appreciate that. And I just want I mean, I know everybody in JCI would say that's the
You're
case.
so sweet. Thank you.
But yeah, I'm curious, what challenges are you currently facing or have faced that have really brought that value up for you?
You know, I'll go through a past experience that I faced in a totally different organization, because I think that we learn from our mistakes, right? Or we learn that, okay, I didn't want to be treated that way and I got treated that way. Therefore, I'm not going to treat anyone else that way.
Love it.
Right? So we learn from past misunderstandings
100%.
or past situations.
You can.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are learning from those past situations, because
I think that's the role of a leader, right? Is to help encourage people to be able to do that, to see that they really can do that, you know?
I completely agree. And just to say this out loud too, is that, isn't it true that whatever we are supposed to be going through, it hopefully is for a teachable moment for someone else.
I look at it that way.
I feel the people that I've chosen to put into my pathway of my leaders that I depend on, they have gone through similar situations. And I don't think that that's a coincidence.
Yeah, no.
I think that they are supposed to be planted into my life for a reason, and that they are on that pathway too of going, when I served in this role or when I served in that role, I was faced with this challenge, and this is my opportunity that I want to give to you of what I would have done differently or what I have been told to do, and it worked. And I'm like so willing to be coachable, so willing to be coachable.
Key. That I was just gonna say, like, that idea of being like really being able to drop your guard and your pride is really what it is, and be like, okay, I need help. Yeah. You will inevitably grow by doing that.
I will say this, and then I will totally answer your question. I love our topic that we're on right now. I call it human moments. And a lot of times in my leadership role for work, I had consultants constantly coming to me, giving me situations or scenarios. And they're like, what would you do? What would you do? And I said, well, what would a human do? And I know that's so silly. Yeah. That's so, it's so minute, but it's like, well, yeah, what would a human do?
Because it allows them to drop into their heart when you say that.
Just be a human.
Yeah.
You know, if you're facing with something that they're really grinding your gears, they're really frustrating you, you're feeling really annoyed and ticked off, and you could possibly explode. We all understand that. We've been there. Therefore, if that's the case, what would a human do? A human's going to go and just say, you know what? I need to take a deep breath. Yeah. I need to go and take a second. I'm actually, and I've been there where I've actually told someone, I'm actually not in the proper headspace to have this conversation right now. So I'm going to just like put a pin in this one and I'm going to come back to it. But I promise you that when I come back to it, I will be with the best intention. And that's being a human.
So important.
Recognizing that, hey, we are not perfect people. We are never going to be perfect people, but I promise that I will do my best to bring my best forward so I can make the most of whatever situation we're going through.
That's so interesting. So now my mind is starting to understand it's not even the intention. It's not the value of value that you have. It's the intention. Like, you're trying to truly provide value to yourself and to others through providing it to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So going back to your original question, you know, a situation or a time or a challenge that I faced. And I will just be totally honest with you. There are some people in any situation, again, I'm just going to say like work, relationships, other nonprofit organizations, and they are not driven by the same things that JCI is driven by, which is service-based organization, doing service-based projects for the better of humanity. The best work of life is service to humanity. That's in our creed. So there are other organizations that don't necessarily believe that. So when they are interacting with other people, they make you feel down. They're looking down on you to some extent. And I've had situations where, man, was that tested for me. And I just felt like, you said earlier, that prove you wrong mentality. It's not that it's a prove you wrong mentality. It's prove myself right.
Yeah.
Prove myself right of what value I know I bring to the table. No matter what my circumstance may be, I need to choose to either walk away, continue going, press on, stay still, go back, like whatever that ends up being. And being in other challenging situations, it's recognizing this is not going to go as I wanted it to go. That's okay. It's still part of my pathway, but I just need to find a different way around this one. What is that pathway going to look like now? And how am I going to make sure that if I ever come across this again, because you will come across it again, maybe not in the week or a day or whatever, but in our lifetime, we go through so many similar battles. And I think the battles that we most similarly go through are the ones that we're supposed to make that ripple impact for someone else to learn from.
I really connect with that. And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how you felt, like, because I felt the same way in certain organizations, on certain teams that I've been on. I know I have a certain set of values, and I walk into a environment that doesn't have those same set of values, and it makes an impact that's not positive. For me.
Exactly.
Because I can only speak for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I connect with JCI so much, is that, I mean, one of my biggest values, and we talk about this all the time, is social interest. And that's all about contributing to the well-being of others, and through contributing to yourself first, making sure you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, whether or not they're conscious of that, like whether or not they would word it that way, is like that in JCI. And that's why it's so easy to connect with the members, as well as create like such impactful projects.
I completely agree. I always ask, and I would actually love to ask you a question. What's the reason that you started with JCI? Why did you just stumble into JCI?
That's a good question. So I came off a very like difficult experience in college, and long story short, it left me with some things that I needed to work through internally.
Yeah.
And in that space, I found the idea of social interest. I just happened to stumble upon it. And I have to give credit to my father. He was actually the one who showed me the work of the guy who founded the concept. But when I found that, I was really struggling. But when I found that, I started to truly experience like healing within myself. And the core value within the socially interested landscape is connection. And it was through connecting not only to myself, but really dropping that guard, like we were talking about earlier, and dropping my pride and being like, I need help. Like, I'm really struggling. I need help. And once I did that, like, it saved my life, you know. So joining JCI was, for me, my intention was to bring that kind of energy into the organization in hopes that it could make a difference.
Yeah, no doubt. The reason why I asked that, Noah, is because I often find that people start because of one reason with JCI, but they stay for a whole different set of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, like, it goes back to it aligns with my values. The people in JCI, like, share my values.
Yeah.
They might not word it the same way, but I think we're all there for the same reason, and it's to connect with one another and build with one another and really contribute to the betterment of our community, and not just Santa Clarita. Like, I think platforms like this are really, really cool because it just gets put on the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
and you never know where that ripple is supposed to go.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, I'm always like, even with this podcast, I was telling myself today, I was like, if I could help at least one person, then
yeah.
I feel like we did what we were supposed to do,
Absolutely. Just to make because big part of value for me is not just saying it, but truly breathing it into whatever space I get to breathe it into. And Noah, you just said, I just hope that my connectedness gets to be put onto whoever listens or whoever's in my space. Noah Morrow, my goodness, every person who's in your space leaves better than where you found them.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. It's really important to me, like I feel like we might as well just get into this. So growing up, I grew up with a brother who has autism, and I could see he didn't communicate until he was 6 years old, 5, 6 years old. And that made it really difficult to connect, right? And it was extremely painful, like to grow up with a sibling. And I mean, you understand that you just want to connect with, like, that's all you want to, you just want to love on them, connect with them, just like watch them thrive. And I felt like I couldn't do that when I was younger. And so I developed a certain pattern of thinking that was not true, but was so foundational because it was the first 5-6 years of my life that I ended up feeling like, oh, I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect in order to get myself to communicate with him. And that, I just want to tell everyone, is not true. I think the moment you really accept that nobody's perfect, and especially not yourself, dropping that pride allows you to truly connect with people. And my brother is now very talkative, one of the most talkative people
amazing.
I know. I love him so much.
He is so fun.
Yeah.
He is a joy. Every room he walks into, you just there's something about him that is such a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes back to thank you, by the way.
Of course.
It goes back to the value that I wanted to bring to the world was connection. And I mean, that just manifested as a result of my experiences.
Yeah.
And I want to know, how does that tie in to your story?
For sure. So you and I have a very similar story. We are both siblings of special needs kids. And you and your brother, how?
We're 18 months apart.
18 months apart.
Yeah.
Okay. So my sister and I are 8.5 years apart. So fulfilling a role as what my family household likes to call a third parent role is really just been my young adult life as I've grown up, as I've gone to college, and in the last 2 years, I've taken on a caregiving role for my sister. And that caregiving role includes taking her to her program where one of our members, Jessica Scorza, started Agape Village. And we love Agape. And Agape Village is where the clients, everyone's over the age of 18. The oldest client that they have is 49 years old with Down syndrome. Lori, so sweet. And they are learning life skills. They're learning how to do laundry, make coffee for the community, cooking, cleaning. I mean, they're doing basic life skills so that they can strengthen those things. And my caregiving role includes dropping her off, picking her up when she's having a sick day, which she is today. She's hanging out with us here at the studio. So it's my life is just around that type of caregiving role. And you're talking about connectedness. My family, which I thought was so beautiful, they never told me that my sister had Down syndrome when she was born. They didn't tell me that she had Down syndrome until I think her 3rd birthday.
Oh, wow.
And it was because they wanted me to be able to connect regardless.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
And it's so sweet because it's and I do feel like I go into my life, leadership, work, doesn't matter, with the same base layer of everyone is a human. Everyone gets treated like they're a human. Everyone gets treated with respect and dignity and patience and kindness, because as much as we like to pretend like we know what someone's possibly going through, we really don't.
Idea.
And so that availability of grace that I like to extend my hand out for any person in my presence, I really try to.
Yeah.
And I try to have so much patience and understanding regardless. And just going back to the fact that we're on a leadership podcast, even going through challenging situations with, people who we may not get along with, or people that are struggling with something very specific, just having that same amount of grace has been taking me through my entire life.
Yeah.
And I think that I really hope that I portray that onto whoever's in my space. But I also know that I'm a human too. Yeah. And it ain't always that cute. And,
and I think to your point, it's like your ability, first of all, you definitely create that space around yourself.
Thank you.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you create that space within yourself. Like, you allow yourself grace, which then allows you to give other people grace.
Yeah. And I will just say, going through a season fairly recently where you expect something to, you can see it for what it is, but your body or your your emotions are handling it totally differently. And to see the other side fully of that now, of going, wow, I probably should have given myself more grace than what I was allowing myself to go through, or I should have depended more on some people than I needed to. It's a learning lesson. Definitely. And it means that, not that the situation had to be perfect or different or whatever, but to just allow more grace for the future. And also, it teaches you how to love other people. Mm-hmm. I really do believe that value is a form of love. And like value is a sense of like, you're just loving on the person for who they are. You're not trying to change them. You're not trying to cultivate them into your perfect mold of what they have to be. Yeah. You're just loving them for who they are. Yeah. And if we did more of that, how many more people would flourish in their strengths, gifts, and talents that we would not have seen otherwise if we just whipped them into who we wanted them to be? Yeah,
I just had a realization in my mind, like that just connected the puzzle pieces for me of how I really wanted to just connect with my brother. And in order to do that, my family and I made it a point to encourage and highlight his abilities, right? Where I think a lot of people will hear the word autism or hear any sort of disability and take it for that word. Like they label disability, that word to me doesn't sit well. Yeah. And I think people just every human being has abilities. And I think what the value that we can provide as leaders is being able to lean in and encourage the cultivation of those abilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, solid note there. Solid note. Absolutely.
Okay, let's see. What concrete steps or initiatives are we taking in JCI right now, or are you taking as president, to really just drive value home?
Okay, so I loved what our past president, Carlos, said at awards installation this year. I don't remember the number that he said, but I do remember that he mentioned that last year we had an event in JCI once every 4 days. There was something that was happening in JCI, whether that was a committee, a project, a social, a chat and chill. I mean, it did not matter what we had. We had one every 4 days. Oh, yeah. So my groundwork steps are to literally fulfill the role of, his word for the year was innovation and communication. My word for this year is value. And I really do think it all kind of goes alongside each other, because the innovation that we created and cultivated last year is literally being valued this year. Right? Oh, so the trickle effect of what we're doing, and of course, communication is all throughout it, because I think that there's this, this thought in people's mind of like, oh, I have to do it just how the past person did it. And it's like, well, wait, do you want to do something different? What are your ideas within it? And it's actually just motivating and exciting someone to take ownership of that. And I actually learned that from our studio host, Corin Young. He and I had a meeting not too many months ago. And when him and I sat down together, he said, they always say in JCI, you can do whatever you want to do, make it your own. And he said, I really want to see more of that. And I honestly took that to heart because I really do believe that it's not my ideas that are going to be the best in the world. Actually, I hope that someone is about to join JCI who has a better idea than I have. Yeah. I hope that in 20 years from now, there's 28-year-olds who are taking on their presidential role, and I get to be there as support for that person, but I don't get to say, back in my day when we were walking uphill in the snow barefoot both directions, you're like, what is going on? Like, why can't I have a fresh thought? Yeah. So the groundwork, when you say that, it's truly to just let people, let them.
Yeah.
Let them lead. Let them try. Let them build the airplane on the way down. They're going to land. I'm not going to pull the mat from underneath them. I'm going to make sure that they land on their feet.
And that's how people discover their own value. Like the value that they bring to the world. That's how they do that.
Yeah. And I'm a big cheerleader in making sure that everyone around us celebrates those wins. Yeah. Because to you and I, maybe hosting your first podcast like this today, you are feeling like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm meant to be. But for me, I'm thinking, Noah Morrow's doing this thing. I want to celebrate to the moon and back for him because it is something cool. Everything that our board of directors, our members do, it's exciting to be 100%. Part of the journey.
100%.
Bottom line.
Couldn't agree more.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Groundwork. I don't have groundwork. My groundwork is just loving on people.
Yeah. Well, that actually leads into my next question. How does love and value guide you to inspire?
How does it lead me to inspire? I guess it's just within the question, right? I guess it's just hope that with what I do and what I say and how I portray it, it does inspire. I think that going back to my original fear of that whole misunderstood, I think that, we just came off of having our strengths assessment by Jenny Ketchapaw. Which all of our members had the invitation to come and dive deeper into their strengths. And the feedback that I got was there was quite a few people who actually tried to redo their assessment. And when they tried to redo their assessments, they got these new results that they were not thrilled with. And Jenny actually sat down with a couple of our members, and majority of them decided that, okay, my original strengths that I received were probably right.
More true to them.
More true to who they be than taking the assessment again. And so I think what's interesting about that is I actually did also retake my assessment, but it's because Jenny suggests that you retake it if the first time you did it was under the age of 26. And to retake it after you're a little bit older and your cortex is all developed and all the good stuff. And so when I retook mine, it actually gave me this sense of validation. My number one strength is communication.
Yeah, I could have told you that.
I have woo. I have positivity in my top 5. I have responsibility in my top 5. I mean, it really is who I am. So when I'm inspiring people through value and love, I really do think it's because I'm clearly articulating and communicating that. And my biggest fear of not being understood, I really hope people don't think it's coming out of nowhere.
No.
I really hope they feel the genuineness that it comes from.
I think because I think that feeling of being misunderstood is coming from a very similar space.
Yeah.
I think just having that intention that's how we compensate for that feeling. So we don't make it about us. It's like we're using it to contribute to others. And I think everybody has that ability.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Never desired to be number one. No, I don't have a competitive bone in my body. I know some of you are disappointed about that.
which is so interesting, and which I admire
Yeah.
because you're the president
Yeah.
of JCI Santa Clarita, and I think there are people that want to be in positions of leadership for them, like so that it's like a accomplishing thing for them.
Yeah.
And I think really like the foundation of what a leader is that contribution that you make, right? So I love that you're not making any leadership role that you step in like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this. I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah. I so appreciate you saying that. I want to give credit where credit is due. We just came back from national JCI USA National Conference. And at the national conference every spring, we're awarded the awards from the previous year. Well, it was my mission to be the loudest in the room. So I was. And so I, every single time, so just to be clear, Santa Clarita chapter is actually a very award-winning chapter. We also have had Carrie McCoy go on to our America's just based upon her winning at this last conference. We also had our Veterans Resource Fair go on to the Americas that we'll find out results for soon to see if that goes on to even globally beyond that. We are an award-winning chapter. And so with that pride comes such excitement. Yeah. Don't get it twisted. I am not competitive, but when it comes to my people and their accomplishments, because that is their blood, sweat, tears, dedication, sleepless nights, having someone pick up the kids while we go and drop this project idea off, or whatever you need to do, that is on their like cultivation.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to be the loudest in the room. So every time that Santa Clarita's name was called, which was over 13 times in just the afternoon session, every time I would go, that's my chapter. That's my chapter. Jumping up and down, going, that's my chapter. My heart was racing because to me, it wasn't about being number one. It was about giving credit back where credit is due. It's never about me. It's always about what they've been able to do and how can I celebrate them.
Yeah. And I'm curious, does that inevitably, I mean, I would think it would, does that inevitably fuel the value that you see in yourself?
That's actually a great question. I hope it does. Yeah. I hope so.
You're not thinking about it consciously.
I'm really not.
Right,
no,
right.
I just want people to know that I will go to the ends of the earth to make them feel significant for what they've done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to point out, it's very, again, inspiring that you're able to not only like do that for others, but take care of yourself while doing that. And that's a challenge. And it takes a lot of work. So I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
And it definitely shows. It definitely shows.
Thank you.
The encouragement and support, I think for me, especially like with talking about the socially interested value that I have, like that's a core idea within that is
totally
just encourage, like the ability to really connect with somebody can be heightened like 10 times by truly encouraging and supporting them.
Have you seen that thing on Instagram or TikTok lately? It's a new trend that's happening and it says, I probably just needed a hug. But then like the next thing is like super contradicting and it's like, but I went on a shopping spree instead. I feel like people just need a hug. Right. Like I think
it would help.
John Maxwell said before 2020, people needed more communication. After 2020, people need more connection.
Oh, I don't doubt
Hands
it.
down.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to be a part of a place where, okay, yeah, you pay your membership dues. Sure. Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. You join a service-based organization. But almost 100% of the time of why people stay in JCI is because of the connection.
Yeah.
They can't imagine their life without the relationships that they built.
100%. And I think that ties directly into the fact that it is a service-based organization. Mm-hmm. People are going in there with the intention to serve.
We are already like-minded.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I love that so much. Let's see, how can our chapters focus on value, resonate with, and serve the Santa Clarita community, but more importantly, like just human beings?
Values a ripple effect. I think I mentioned this, but I didn't quite get a chance to explain it. Before I was on the presidential role and I was talking with every person, and I know I did this with you. I said, there are 3 things I'm looking for before you make a decision if you'll be my VP of marketing. I really wanted you to be in this role. And number 1 is I said, number 1, you got to be a ride or die JCI. Like ride or die. At dawn, we ride. This is what I need. Number 2, I need you to be a team player. That if I have an idea and you have an idea, we collectively have 2 ideas. It's not you're going to keep your idea to yourself. I'm going to keep my idea to myself, and we're going to fight to make sure that our idea is number 1. Yeah. You can't do that here. Yeah. Number 3, you need to believe that value is a ripple effect, that it's going to start with our leaders. It's going to go directly to our VPs. Our VPs are going to spread that into our directors. The directors will spread that into their projects. The projects will impact the members, and the members will impact the community. And the community being impacted is bound to impact other places. So if it starts with us in our role, and you believe that your value that you bring to the table will ultimately ripple impact to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, it's just the pay it forward method.
Yeah. Speak more on that.
So
the pay it forward method and why it's so important.
There was a movie that I watched in junior high school, and it's a pay it forward mentality where if you just pass it on, if you just pay it forward. We were talking before we started the podcast, the power of one more. Power of if you just impacted one more person, what would that mean? And I think back to 40 Under 40, the first time that I co-chaired it. And I wasn't expecting there to be this like grand gesture of like, you know, Alex and I doing 40 Under 40 as the co-chairs and getting that recognition. The thing that motivated me the most is to wait for the first person to get off stage so I could hug them.
I love that.
Like, come on, you know, like it's just that small thing of you are doing the and then some, and I just want to reward you for just being you.
Yeah, and serving, like.
You've given whatever you've done to be here. Now let me reward you.
Yeah.
And it's just paying it forward.
You know, like you said earlier, you never know what anybody's going through.
You never know.
And I know personally, it's taken a lot to just be right here, right now. And I'm sure people who are getting recognized resonate.
Yeah. And that's just one story.
Yeah.
There are countless stories that are happening because of what our project co-chairs are bringing to the table through their own passion and creativity.
Yeah, that's the best part for me too.
We have no idea who's going to hear this podcast and be so grateful that Noah, you prepared these set of questions, that you brought these set of insights to the table. We may never get to meet them, but gosh, do I really hope.
Yeah, me too.
Really hope that it does, because I know that that's your mission.
Yeah, I think that's, and that's, again, going back into why I love JCI so much, is like, that's everyone's mission in JCI, is to just serve more person. If we can serve one more person, then I think we're doing
all right.
For ourselves, you know?
And if I could take it one step further, and if I could just say that it's maybe not about serving one more person, but also allowing one more person to feel what their actual calling is supposed to be for what they're supposed to be doing with their values, or what they're supposed to be doing with their strengths and skill set. If they got one more piece of validation just because they entered our space.
Yeah, I love that.
Mic drop.
And that's a direct, the ability to make that happen is directly correlated to the ability to do that within yourself. And I think that lesson is so important for people to understand. And that's, I think, a lesson that we inevitably give off when you are a servant leader and when you put others, you know, first and really value what their abilities are.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. I love that so much. So looking at the international stage.
Okay.
How do you believe small localized acts of value can influence larger societal trends or global conversations?
I think it's all about digging deeper. It's not just about, you know, it's not just about saying, oh, I really want to help our homeless community. what if we took off the cap of just helping the homeless community with whatever project idea you had? And then we dug a little bit deeper, and then it's, okay, what I want to help the homeless that are in the county. Okay, what if we dug a little bit deeper? I want to help the homeless in the nation. Okay, dig deeper. Dig deeper. What if there was no more homelessness? What would the answer to that be? So if you took off the cap of thinking of going, oh, I have a new project idea, I want to end this so that our city can just be safer and healthier. And I know that, okay, well, what causes homelessness, right? We go through all the options. What if we stopped those things from happening?
Yeah.
Do you understand that in this organization, that could be a possibility? And the way that we have proof of that is because in other countries on the international level of JCI, they are finding cures. They are finding answers for really deep things that we as Americans, we got to dig a little deeper. We got to find a little bit more. And I'm not saying that the members of our chapter have to find the cure for homelessness necessarily, but I do want them to think deeper than going beyond it, because I think that there are answers available, and I think that we have the ability to find where those answers are. But in the sense of value and all this related, you have to have people who are willing to support you in those missions, because it really is kind of deeper. It's much deeper than what we're realizing or thinking it to be.
Yeah.
So we just have to come to the place and conclusion of like, if we think that this idea is crazy, could you imagine if it actually went one step closer to solving the actual problem? That's going to be the international impact, I think.
I was just having a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day. I was like, dude, did you ever hear when, and I'm curious, did you ever hear anybody tell you like, yeah, it's not that deep?
Yeah.
Like, I would hear that a lot growing up. And every time I'd think, it's always that deep. Like, what are we talking about? It's not that deep, because it goes back again, I think, to the space that you're able to create within yourself. If you create that space, it can be that deep.
It could. Oh, that's a whole different like railway. But I think that it takes a person's self-awareness and also their comfortability to be able to say to themselves, I want to be vulnerable enough to get to that place.
Yeah.
For it to be that deep. And I think that is a self-practice in itself.
Definitely.
Of, am I willing to let my guard down long enough for that to be a potential?
Yeah. And I really want to like dig into this, because I feel like by letting that guard down, the ability to add value and contribute is exponentially,
I think that it's when we stop allowing ourselves to fit into a box. And it says, like, I know members right now who have business ideas that they want to totally take adventures on. And in JCI, we have this thing called a project management guide. And that project management guide is essentially a business plan. And if they were to take that PMG, project management guide, and really cultivate something outside of their total comfort zone than what they've ever thought possible, because they're so used to being this person, what doors would that open? What window could it crack? What opportunity would come knocking that they didn't even know possible? Because they were only so focused on what they thought they had to be, versus the creativity of what we provide for any person is that they get to try.
Yeah.
What's the harm in trying?
And that goes right back to what you were saying about like highlighting people's abilities, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I love that so much. Okay. In the sense of, or in the spirit of collaboration, what projects would you personally like to see in JCI this year that haven't been already developed?
Okay. Only because it's kind of in the works, I will mention this one.
Yeah, you don't have to go into
I'll
it
totally
if you
go.
don't want.
I'll go tiptoe around it. Corin, careful on this one, okay?
Yeah, we could cut this out if
No,
it doesn't
kidding.
work. Yeah.
But something that I'm excited about right now, a big factor as well as value, is also legacy. I really do want to honor the past, and Santa Clarita's chapter has 28 years of a past that is inspiring, dedicated, is hardworking. And quite honestly, it just feels like every person who's gone before me in this leadership position as a president, I just always hope I'm making them proud for what their legacy represented. And I always try to make sure that they understand the depth that it feels for me to be in this position, because I don't take it lightly. I genuinely care so much. And so this year, we are going to be honoring the legacy of our past presidents.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad I asked that question.
I am too. There's a very special thing that a president wears, and I want to make sure that that is completely filled with every past president. And there's a vision, mission, and reason behind all of it. And I want to be able to honor the legacy and celebrate with the ones that we still have in our community that are past presidents.
That. This goes right into what you were just talking about. What is your vision for the legacy of value within our chapter and for JCI Santa Clarita? Within the chapter. And how do you hope our contributions will be remembered in the future?
I think that there's a lot of leaders who are afraid of them leaving the position and then people forgetting who they are. And I don't think that I feel that way right now. And I find it interesting when people try to prepare me for that. And the reason I say that is because it's just not about me.
Mm-hmm. That's understandable.
It's never been about me. It's been about what it will hopefully do for the future. Mm-hmm. And I just hope, and I complimented this of someone who was a past president, Charlene Johnson. She actually led our chapter in 2020. And I joined in 2020. I joined my membership, and then March we shut down. I joined February 17th or something. I mean, just weeks later, JCI, everything, we were done.
Shout out to Charlene Johnson.
Shout out to Charlene Johnson, because here's what she did. I describe it like this, of she started turning a tank, a huge ship, huge ship. And as you guys know, you can't just turn a huge ship. It's not a jet ski or anything. It's a huge ship. So the work that Charlene started doing over 5 years ago started going slow and started turning, and we're turning to the right. And sometimes you hit a wave, you got to go backwards a little bit, and you got to keep going. And essentially, I feel like I'm picking up the torch or the baton right in this legacy impact that Charlene started when things could have gone a totally different direction. Look at where they are today. Then followed by the leadership of Daniela. Then Daniela's leadership followed by the legacy of what Alex did. And then what Alex did led on to what Cindy did. And what Cindy did led on to what Carlos did. And what Carlos did is now leading on to what I'm doing. Every single leader, I'm sure, feels I don't know if it really made all that difference. But I'm telling you right now, it did.
I love that.
It did.
Yeah.
Because we would not be here. We would not have the creativity.
Yep.
We wouldn't have the drive. We wouldn't have the inspiration if it didn't start with someone starting to turn the ship.
Yeah. And that takes so much courage to start steering that ship. And it really allows the people following to be able to embody that courage as well, because they saw what it did.
They totally did. Yeah.
That's incredible.
We have longevity of members that were here even before that started happening. And shout out to them, because I know that their stories obviously so much different than where mine is too, but they know that where we are right now with JCI Santa Clarita, it's a really cool place.
Oh yeah.
It is really special. Oh, yeah. And even nationals recognizes that within us. There's some special qualities of what JCI Santa Clarita has to offer.
For sure, yeah. No, shout out to all the past members who have made this possible. It's truly a meaningful experience for me, and I know you feel the same way.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very easily, hands down, one of the best decisions.
So we've kind of talked about this in a roundabout way.
Okay.
But I want to ask you directly, how can our listeners apply the principle of value in their everyday lives, and or whether in their professional careers or community engagements?
Yeah, I think that it's just tremendously just look at the person who's in front of you.
Yeah.
Look at the person in front of you and just figure out, how can I just, it's not even, I think we take too much pressure into it of how can I change Noah's world? He's sitting in front of me. No. It's just, how can I just serve Noah Morrow right now? How can I just serve the person sitting in front of me? How can I, there's the challenging person who's you're thinking of, who you're like, that's all great, Brittany, but I really could care less about serving the challenging person. Okay, then how can you understand the challenging person better? Like, what is just like the one little thing you could do today to
It's a great perspective.
Just 1% different.
What is on your mind, or what has been on your mind recently that you believe could truly provide value to not only yourself, but to the collective?
I think that thank you for asking that, because it's really interesting. The whole motto of what JCI is that you can try, right? You can try, you can fail, you can do everything in between. I am literally in a season where I feel like I'm in that in between. Like, professionally, I am figuring it out still. And I'm figuring out where that role is going to be for my life. I'm figuring out where, my strengths. We just said this. I popped them into ChatGPT just to see what it would say. And there is something about my communication strength being number one and having that be part of the plan. I just don't know what that is. And I think what's interesting that we can really pull this all together with is I think that the value behind it is it's okay that I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
It's okay that I get to kind of explore options. I get to have opportunities where we come to the studios and we get to try, and I get to talk, and I get to speak on what is of value to me right now. And in a way, it's kind of like mentally sifting through it of where it's supposed to lead to. So maybe you're in a season 2 right now where you just feel like, I really have no clue where it's going to, land me, but I know that I'm in the right direction. And I know that I'm not here on accident. And I know that I didn't just happen to find JCI. Like, I feel like there's some part of this journey and support that I'm receiving because of the roles I've been involved in and where I've cultivated where I'm at, that it's going to lead me somewhere even more spectacular than I would have even thought. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of trust the process and know that it's okay that I don't really know right now, but I'm definitely feeling like JCI is that safest place possible for me to explore.
100%. So the themes that stood out for me when you were just speaking were, one, accepting that and truly believing that it's okay not to be okay and not to know what's next for maybe 5 minutes from now. It's okay.
Yeah.
And two, that it takes a lot of courage to be able to just trust yourself and move forward knowing that whatever happens was meant to, there's lessons that you needed to learn within whatever experience that is.
Totally.
And I think this all ties together with what we've been talking about, which is if you lean into courage in an environment that's supportive and encouraging.
Yeah.
Encouraging.
No
right?
kidding. Yeah.
You will inevitably reap the benefits of that. And more importantly, the community will do that.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
The amount of stories and options and ideas that have literally happened in JCI talking circles in the last 5 years only of just knowing some of these incredible people. Oh my gosh, could I write even a book on all of their accomplishments that I've witnessed and seen and just been part of as like a fly on the wall for their life. I don't take any credit for things that they've accomplished, but I've been able to see and witness that through relationships and cultivation and ideas and concepts that are just driven by their passion and values has led them to an incredible pathway.
And it sounds like you being able to see that has truly allowed yourself to trust
that process.
It's going to take care of itself.
I hope. Yeah, I really hope that that's exactly it. And just to tie it back full circle, being that full picture, I just hope that it impacts someone else too when they're going through something similar. I don't do it because I think that it's what I need to do and I need to be figuring it all out so that I can make that my story. Yeah. It's hey, someone else is going to need this one day too.
Yeah. Yep. I couldn't have said it better than that, to be honest. Let's see. How does? Oh, that's like that. I really want people to sit with that because that's so important to take in. That what you just said like has completely changed my life with like when I found the concept of social interest, like that was fully a part of it, and that's what it allowed me to be able to do within myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a battle that I think a lot of people are trying to get. People are trying to get into the space where that can be possible for them.
Yeah.
You know? So, next question. How do you see your definition of value evolving throughout the course of your presidency as you face challenges and new opportunities?
You know, it's funny when I made the personal decision that I wanted to be the president, and I figured out what roles I had to do to make sure, and qualifications or whatever that I had to do to get to point A to point B. And then to actually sit there, and I remember it being like the 1st or 2nd of January. And I sat there with myself and I'm like, did I just do this? Like, did I really just sign up for 365 days of being in this role? And shortly after, just sitting with those feelings and those thoughts, you kind of always hope, you're like, oh, I hope that this is like the best year ever, that people are like, oh, that was awesome. I got to do everything I wanted to accomplish. I got to experience all I wanted to experience. And then I just thought to myself, you know what? I don't care what comes our way. I just really hope that someone gets to walk away and say, like, because of this person or because of this encouragement or because of this, project, I'm doing fill in the blank, whatever that is for their lives. And I think that it's kind of cliche to say that out loud because, you're like, what does your value need to be for this year? It's like, I really wanted it to be back in January that it would just be smooth sailing, no things going wrong, everything's awesome. Yeah. But then truly and honestly, there's nothing that you learn from those moments. And if I could take anything away from a role like this, it's that you learn as much as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. And every past president that I've talked to about that, they say something so similar. I loved the year that I was the president. I go, why? I learned so much. Mm-hmm. Okay, noted. Mm-hmm. Like, learn as much as you possibly can while in this position so that you can take those things forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Lean into meaningful challenges and see what opportunities that creates for you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so to wrap it up, what are your final thoughts or like a call to action that you would like to leave yourself as well as the listeners?
Yeah. My call to action for anyone who can hear the sound of my voice is that you don't limit who you are for the benefit of making other people feel comfortable. And then number 2,
that's a bar.
Number 2 is that you take your hand and you grab the next person who's supposed to come with you.
That's also a bar.
My call to action is that you don't take whatever was spoken or whatever you're inspired by, you don't just let it stale and sit. I believe that every person's supposed to move forward in their life, no matter what that's supposed to look like. And sometimes we think that when we're not doing anything, that we're just standing still. And that's not the case. You move backwards when you're not taking action towards what you're supposed to be doing. So I really do believe, and honestly, be the brightest version that you can possibly be of yourself. Be the best version that you can be of yourself, because it's supposed to be that way.
100%.
And then always bring up the next person who's supposed to come with you.
Well, I love that. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. We love you, JCI. We love you all guys. Of the things that we get to do here. And Noah Morrow, congratulations on your first podcast episode of 2025.
I appreciate
for Secrets of Tomorrow's Leaders. We are so grateful to have you. You are exactly in the right place at the right time.
No, I can say the same about you, and I'm very grateful that I get to serve alongside you. So
I'm grateful I can serve alongside you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys got something out of this. Definitely need to do something like this again. We'll see what the future holds, but we'll definitely be taking action and leading with courage and love and trying to provide value for those around us. And we hope you do the same.
Love you,
Thank
fam.
you.